Welcome to Ghosted by the Machine, the podcast where job seekers break through the algorithm and finally get heard. No filters, no bots, just real stories from real people navigating today's hiring system. I'm your host, Mark Lane, and today we're giving the mic to someone whose work has always centered around people, specifically patients. Danielle is a patient-centric strategist who has built her career helping organizations design better experiences, clearer communication, and more human systems. Now she's navigating the job market herself. Danielle, welcome to Ghosted by the Machine.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Well, before we get into the heavy stuff, tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your professional background and what role you've been looking for since you have been on this job journey?
So I'm a healthcare marketing strategist, like you mentioned, but I'm someone who decided that I needed more than one master's degree. I originally got my master's in public health with a concentration in health behavior and health promotion. And then I went right into my MBA focused on healthcare marketing and strategy. And I'm also deep into doctoral level work around health literacy right now. So I live at this intersection of science, storytelling, and systems thinking. I care about the brand, but I also care about whether the patient actually understands what's happening to them. So I've spent about 12 years on the agency side, partnering with pharma and biotech clients. I've worked on everything from over-the-counter switches from like Nexium 24 to rare disease, neurology, autoimmune, and oncology initiatives. So whether I'm speaking to physicians or patients, my job has always been to connect the science to real-world decision-making. But patient engagement is my favorite space. I love the full ecosystem of it, the data, the positioning, the market dynamics, the storytelling. It all means a lot to me. Right now, if I stay agency side, I'm looking for a director, senior director, or VP level strategy marketing role. But if I go client side, which would be a dream come true, that would be within a pharmaceutical company. I'd be looking at brand or senior brand manager roles. I want to lead work that keeps patients at the center while driving smart, measurable growth. Something where I can lead teams, connect the healthcare provider, the patient, commercial strategy, and then move those brands forward without losing sight of the human being on the other side of the prescription that they're being given. And the job search. Wow, that has been humbling. It's been so very humbling. Some days I feel like a powerhouse, like I can take anything on. And then other days I'm refreshing my email like it's a slot machine in Vegas, just waiting for those next steps or even an offer letter. That would be great. But this whole job search has stretched my resilience. But it's also clarified who I am. I'm not looking for just a job. I want to lead meaningful work. Always put the patient at the center.
So speaking of slot machines, when it comes to AI and automated hiring, do you feel it's helped or hurt you or maybe even made you feel invisible at times?
Oh, wow. So I have a love-hate relationship with AI. I'm pro AI for personal use. I use it in my own work. I think it's a powerful tool when it enhances the strategic thinking. It can't replace it, though. That'll never happen. I've even created job search bots or agents using AI to help me be more efficient and help me do things like proofreading the hundreds of resumes I'm creating. But when it comes to the automated hiring systems, there's where my not so generous feelings come into play. So I understand there has to be some like filtering mechanism in place. These places are getting thousands of applicants for one position. So things like educational requirements, years on the job, years of experience, specific technical knowledge, like do you have software experience? Do you have purchasing experience? Those are straightforward qualifiers. So build simple, transparent questions into the application system and screen that way. But when it comes to these opaque sort of algorithms or AI being the gatekeeper, that's when I think it's creating problems. You're basically trying to outsmart this applicant tracking system, but we're not given the knowledge of what that target is. So at that point, I'm wondering, is the company hiring the right person for the role? Or are they getting the person who best optimized their resume for a machine? And in my line of work, that's going to be a failure to both the company and ultimately the patient. There have been definitely moments where I've felt invisible, not rejected, but invisible. And those feel very different to me. Rejection at least implies someone at a human level, some person actually evaluated you. But silence from an algorithm feels like you were never really seen. And it really becomes demoralizing. Like, what did you do wrong? And that emotionally can wear on you, especially when you know the depth that you bring. I bring things like leadership, integration across teams, patient-centered strategy. These things don't always translate into keyword density. And being screened out when I know I'm a great fit for the role it hurts. So I think AI should support human judgment, never replace it. Because ultimately, strategy, empathy, and leadership are human competencies. And I still believe a human should be the one deciding whether or not another human gets a conversation.
Right. Well, so that leads me to the next question. Everyone has something powerful inside them that the resume can't show or doesn't capture. So, what would you say your strength, your gift, or your superpower you wish that employers could truly see?
So I think my superpower is being a connector. I connect the dots that people don't always see. So I'm this conduit of energy flow between teams. I can get the clinical, commercial, creative, regulatory teams and get them into a room speaking the same language. So like, for example, I can sit with a medical team and talk endpoints and mechanism of action all day long. Then I can turn around and sit with the creatives and shape a narrative that's emotionally resonant, but still clinically sound and will pass the regulatory muster. And then I can move into a commercial conversation about access, adoption, and growth strategy. So what I'm really doing is creating that alignment. I help people see how their piece fits into that larger ecosystem. And when that happens, that's when momentum builds and the brand takes off. The connective tissue doesn't always show up on a resume, though. You can't list your roles, you can list your launches and brand lifecycle strategies, you can list results and metrics, but you can't easily quantify the ability to just walk into a room where everyone is speaking slightly different professional languages and communicate that I'm the person who helps them find that shared clarity. But underneath all of that, I care deeply, especially about patients and health literacy. I care a lot about teams feeling supported and seen. I'm a very passionate person, and I think that passion goes on to other people on my team. It gets them excited as well. I'm also data-driven and strategic, but all in all, I'm just really human. I really care about other people and how we interact with each other. But to kind of sum it all up about this connective tissue and conduit to energy flow, I could take a 60-page dense clinical paper and bring it to the dinner table and translate that complex science into something that your mom, your teen, your spouse, anyone could understand. Not because I'm simplifying it, but because I respect the information enough and I respect the patient enough to make it clear. To me, that's part of being the connector. Science shouldn't feel intimidating or distant. It should feel usable. It should feel human. And that's my superpower.
So, if you could speak directly to recruiters or hiring managers, what would you want them to understand about the impact that this process has on real people?
Wow, it brings up emotions for me. First of all, I would say we're not just applicants. We're whole ecosystems. We have families, mortgages, kids who are asking how the interviews went, side businesses we're building at midnight. We're not sleeping at night because we're concerned about the interview we have coming up or not getting interviews. I've got doctoral papers due, but all in, we have hope. And we're just asking to be seen. So ghosting can feel operationally small, but it doesn't land that way. When someone's ghosted, it erodes their trust, but it also makes them feel bad about themselves. And when an interview felt aligned and energizing, like you connected with that person you're speaking with, silence creates confusion. I don't know about anybody else, but I personally replay everything. I wonder what I missed, how I misread the room, why they don't even respect me enough to send me a note saying thanks, but no thanks. Look, I don't expect perfection. Hiring is complex, but clear communication, even thoughtful no from someone, preserves our dignity. It reminds people that a human evaluated another human, which is what we're really looking for. And that matters more than the hiring systems account for. because behind every resume is someone who's really trying hard to contribute at a high level. We know what we bring to the table. We just need to be given that chance. And sometimes the difference between a rejected candidate and a future brand champion is just how they were treated during that interview.
For someone listening right now who feels ghosted, exhausted, or like they're losing hope, what would you tell them from your own experience?
First, I'd say you're not crazy. This process can make you question everything: your skills, your instincts, your worth, just what you bring to the table. And it hurts, but rejection is data. Keep that in mind. It's not your identity. I've had interviews where I thought, this is it. This is my team. This is my group. These are my people. And then silence. And I've questioned who I was that day. Like, what did I do wrong? But then I've also had moments where an unexpected conversation, I knew maybe the interview wasn't going to lead to a job offer, but it led to a meaningful connection. And that human that I spoke with then connected me to someone else who thought that I would be a good fit for that role. So what's helped me during this time period of being unemployed is that I keep building while I'm waiting. And I recommend anybody do the same thing. Don't be stagnant. So right now I'm launching a creative studio. I was actually commissioned to do paintings for a gallery. I'm finishing my doctoral work, like I've mentioned. I'm strengthening my network, but I'm learning AI tools because it is unfortunately or fortunately here to stay. So I want to be able to know that the prompts I create are effective. But I'm also refining my voice. I refuse to let this in-between phase be stagnation. And here's something I didn't fully appreciate before this season of unemployment. It really does take a village. Networking isn't optional anymore. Sometimes you have to go around that applicant tracking system, not through it. So you got to reach out to people, find the hiring manager, find the HR team who's going to be doing the screening, reach out, reconnect, ask for introductions, be visible, speak on LinkedIn, talk about your situations. I started doing daily, fake Snapple facts on my LinkedIn page, where I make up something that I think is silly, but pass it off as a fact. And then I introduce myself and kind of pull the whole thing together. And then I think that any opportunity today is going to come through people, not through winning the lottery of beating the applicant tracking system. So basically what I would say to anybody going through this situation right now is just please know that your value is not determined by that applicant tracking system. You only need one room where your experience, your energy, your leadership are seen clearly. And once you get that, when that room opens, once you have that experience, all of this resilience becomes part of your story, not your scar.
Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your story and for bringing the human side of the process to the surface. Very inspiring. And if you're watching or listening and thinking, hey, this sounds like me, you're not alone. If you want to tell your story, email me or send me a DM. And if you want to stay plugged into the real stories, real insights, and real humans behind today's hiring system, make sure to follow and subscribe to new episodes, shorts, and conversations every week. And if your organization believes in making hiring more human and wants to support conversations like this, we're currently opening a few sponsorship spots. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm Mark Lane, and this is Ghosted by the Machine. Behind every application, there is a human. Let's make hiring human again. Thanks again, Danielle, for joining us.
Thanks, Mark. This was fun.
And I